Hello guys, this is your friend and we are back with a new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto is denied training by Kakashi bashing part 1. And if you enjoy this fanfic then please press the like button and subscribe to my channel for more fanfic like this. And now let's start the fanfic. The mask falls. Naruto was not furious that Kakashi denied him training, but even worse he was sad and nearly broken inside. The person he probably trusted the most after Hokage Gigi betrayed him and for whom, one ungrateful ass known as Uchiha Sasuke. But before leaving he gave him a piece of his mind. Naruto was in shock that Kakashi denied him training, but before Kakashi could take his plan further by giving Naruto to Ebisu, Naruto suddenly chuckled darkly and started to laugh maniacally. His laughter died down as he looked Kakashi in the eye and said 3 words that broke the man from inside. Worse than trash. After which Naruto left, not even sparing a glance at Kakashi, who was on his knees and crying. He had only one thought in mind. Oh Kami, I have failed again. First Obito, then Rin, then Minato sensei, then Naruto as a kid, and now Naruto as his Jonin sensei. Naruto went to a training ground along a river and a waterfall and leaned on a tree and closed his eyes to sleep. Jiraiya was now searching the training grounds for his godson. He decided to research a little before going peeping and was now found here. He went to his peeping spot near a waterfall and saw his godson there with eyes closed and crying silent tears. His heart wrenched and decided to go confront and comfort him. He tapped Naruto's shoulder, who opened his eyes and wiped his tears to look at him and widened his eyes. He smiled a little, but it was a completely forced and fake smile, as Jiraiya could tell, and said, "Jiraiya-sama, what do you need of me?" Jiraiya blinked, wondering why he was not given a nickname, and replied, "I came here and say you crying Gaki. Care to share what happened, as according to the Hokage and my spies, you are always happy," and sat beside Naruto waiting for an explanation. Naruto sighed and replied, "It's a mask, Jiraiya-sama, and I recently had my trust broken again like it has always happened." Jiraiya hummed and said, "Let me guess, you were declined training from your so-called sensei and now you think that he is another demon hater." Naruto looked at Jiraiya in surprise and nodded while wanting to ask the unasked question. Jiraiya replied, "It happened all the times with me, so I can understand your pain." Naruto nodded and looked down again while he remembered something. He stood up and asked, "Jiraiya-sama, can you remove this Gogyo Fuin, 5-pronged seal please?" As he removed his jumpsuit and mesh shirt beneath and channeled his chakra to reveal the Hake no Fuin Shiki, 8 trigrams sealing style. Jiraiya was shocked by Naruto's knowledge in seals, but given his heritage, he chuckled inwardly. He studied the Yondaime's seal and he had to say one thing: it was a piece of art, but he soon saw the other seal over it, which was made to weaken Naruto and his chakra control and make his chakra go haywire. He hummed and said, "I heard that you met my old teammate Orochimaru in the 2nd stage of the exams, I take it as his work." Naruto nodded and replied, "I can also remove it, but using a shadow clone, for this is dangerous, as if he dispels midway, I don't know what will happen to the seal." Jiraiya nodded and said, "You have a vast knowledge of seals for a genin, or a shinobi for that matter, and the fact that you taught it to yourself is praiseworthy." Naruto uncomfortably shifted, which caught Jiraiya's eye. Outside, he began to unseal the seal, but on the inside, he made a point to give his sensei a beatdown that was worse than what Tsunade had given him the time he peeked on her. Naruto was not familiar with getting praise, and it was very bad for a child of only 12 years. Jiraiya then decided to help Naruto a little. He surveyed the Fuin Shiki with his right index finger and made a certain pattern. Soon, Naruto felt some changes in his chakra and decided to ask Jiraiya about it. Naruto put on his jumpsuit and asked, "What did you do with my seal, Jiraiya-sama?" Jiraiya chuckled and replied, "I did nothing more than stealing a bit of Kyuubi's powers. You would have noticed the seal and its function, if I am sure." Naruto nodded as Jiraiya continued, "Currently your seal just takes the Kyuubi's chakra and filters it for you, but I stole the Kyuubi's high affinity for Kaden and Futon. I can steal more of its abilities, but for that, I have to weaken the seal, which I am sure is not the right thing to do for now." Naruto nodded and smiled and said, Arigato Jiraiya-sama. Jiraiya nodded and said, but for now, let's go to the real business. Naruto looked confused as Jiraiya said, I want to train you and make you my apprentice. Naruto was wide-eyed and his mouth was slightly agape. Despite his shocked state, Jiraiya continued, Sarutobi-sensei has given orders and there are many other things I have to discuss. Naruto nodded and tears were brimming in his eyes. He wiped them off and said with full determination, of course Jiraiya-sensei, I will not make you regret that. I will be even better than your previous disciple and you will be renowned as the person to train two of the greatest Hokages in Konoha's history. Jiraiya for a moment thought he was looking at a young Minato with the confidence of Kushina and smiled. He then thought it would be best for him to tell Naruto about him being his godfather. To say Naruto was angry was like saying Iwagakure like the fourth Hokage. He physically and verbally berated him but eventually calmed down and hugged Jiraiya upon knowing about his only left family. Naruto separated from Jiraiya and said, well, I can't call you Jiraiya-sensei or Jiraiya-sama, now can I? So your new name is, Aro Sennin. Jiraiya fell on his face on the ground as he remembered another Uzumaki call him that. Afterwards Naruto said, Aro Sennin, please tell me about my parents. Jiraiya quickly shook his head and said, sorry Naruto, I can't tell you that but I can tell you that. That they were great ninja, died in Kyuubi attack, made enemies and blah blah, tell me something I don't know. Interjected Naruto. Jiraiya looked baffled but before he could say anything Naruto said in a sad tone, they say that if your parents are dead and you know their name, they didn't abandon you but if you don't know their name, they abandoned you. I don't have anything. Sasuke's Sharingan means he can learn whatever super awesome technique Kakashi is gonna teach him instantly. And Neji's got that Juken Taijutsu that he gets from his family and it's just. Naruto trailed off, but a deep frown had already settled across Jiraiya's face as the sun set in the distance. I feel like everyone's just had all these cool moves and secret techniques just given to them growing up, and I'm just left picking up the scraps or stealing something. Naruto, having seemingly voiced the weighing angst in his body, leaned back on the river, resting his hands behind his head and stared up at the sky. Jiraiya's expression remained unchanging, but his eyes grew distant and guilty. So please, tell me anything you know about my parents to ease my pain. Jiraiya could not hold it any longer. He hugged Naruto and shed tears with him. He thought, Sensei said that if anyone knew of Naruto's heritage, Iwa would be up in arms, so what should I do? But then he had a brilliant idea and he had a smug smirk on his face. He separated from Naruto and said, Sensei said that if anyone knew of your heritage, Iwa would be up in arms but that would be if they got to know. Naruto himself realized that idea and smirked and motioned for Jiraiya to continue. Jiraiya then said, first things first, you will not interrupt me and ask any questions after I am done. Naruto nodded and Jiraiya told him about his mother first and some of her tales along with his birth events. Naruto was never more happy. He had a caring mother who happened to be the Akai Chishio no Habanero. Then Jiraiya told him about his father. At first Naruto was again angry but this time it was like saying that Konoha and Iwa have a friendly relationship. Naruto nearly net Kyuubi if not for Jiraiya consoling him and telling him to SATND in place of his father and make the choice. After that, considering his father's circumstances, he understood and promised to continue both of their legacies. Naruto then asked Jiraiya, where are the scrolls and other things they left me? Jiraiya replied, everything is in your parents' house, the Uzumaki compound and the monument of your father, though they gave me a few elemental manipulation scrolls and jutsu scrolls just in case, but your highly advanced Uzumaki Fuinjutsu material and your father's notes of the Rasengan and the Hiraishin are in the compound. In your father's head is his library of scrolls along with formal kimonos representing the Uzumaki clan and an armory. Naruto had stars in his eyes and was very thankful to his parents for all of this. He recovered and said, I think after the exams, it would be good to take those items back. Jiraiya nodded and said, well, it's late today, I think you should come tomorrow at 5 a.m. to start your training for the month. Konoha won't know what hit them after the month. Naruto nodded and hugged Jiraiya one more time before going back to his house to get ready for the month. The next day, Naruto arrived at 5 a.m. and saw Jiraiya also arriving, approached him and said, "Well, sensei, what would be my schedule for the month? Do you know the Kage Bunshin's special ability?" asked Jiraiya. Naruto nodded and replied, "Yes, but I had nothing to do and nothing to study from." Jiraiya frowned and continued, "Well, first we will take your elemental affinity test. You have Kaden and Futon from the Kyuubi, but if I am right, you can also have Suiden and Raiden as they were your parents' affinities." Naruto looked confused as Jiraiya elaborated, "Affinities are passed from parents. It's a rare chance that someone develops an affinity for an element which was not related to their parents. That's why all of the Uchiha clan members had either a primary or secondary Kaden affinity, and the Sarutobi clan members have either Doden or Kaden as one of their affinities." Naruto nodded as Jiraiya handed him a chakra paper. Naruto poured his chakra into the paper and both of them were shocked as the paper split into 4 pieces, one piece shredded into small bits, the second one burned to nothing but ash, the third one got so wet that it disintegrated, and the last one crinkled to show that Naruto has all the affinities except Doden. Jiraiya whistled and said, "Well, you have strong Kaden, Suiden and Futon affinities and a regular Raiden affinity. Sensei was not joking when he called you the one unpredictable ninja." Naruto grinned and said, "Well, I also have a moniker to live up to." Jiraiya chuckled and said, "Well, Naruto, I want you to make 80 clones who will work. 10 each will work on your affinities, 20 will focus on jutsu and cutting down hand signs, while 20 other will work with my 5 clones to make 2 special seals. While your clones will be doing this, you will work on speed, endurance and physical training along with taijutsu, fuinjutsu and kuchio's no jutsu, summoning technique, with me every day along with some breaks." Naruto nodded as he made 80 clones. Jiraiya rose his eyebrows amusement and made 5 of his clones. He then said, "I want 10 of you to take a leaf and cut it with just your chakra. If you have any problem, take this scroll. This has the first exercise and its details," as he threw a scroll to a group of 10 clones who went to do as asked. He then told 2 other groups to burn a leaf and crinkle a leaf with their chakra and gave them the respective scrolls. He then turned to the group for Suiden manipulation and told them to reverse the flow of water in a river for minimum 15 minutes with their chakra and gave them their scroll. He then turned to the group for jutsu practicing and said, "First I want you to practice making hand signs with speed and sense how your chakra molds when you make a specific seal. After 1 week, I will give you your scrolls." They nodded and left to practice making hand signs and studying. He then turned to the last group and said, "I want you to work with my clones here to figure out a seal to nullify the Byakugan and the Sharingan. It would be very helpful, and I personally think that you are a lower level 9 seal master. I myself am a level 9 borderline level 10 seal master. We can figure this out." They nodded and left. Jiraiya then turned to Naruto and said, "Well, first I want you to sign this," as he removed the toad summoning contract from his back and unrolled it in front of Naruto. Naruto started jumping and excitedly signed the toad contract with his blood. Jiraiya put the scroll back on and said, "Now, I want you to take your blood, do these hand signs and put enough chakra to summon a decent toad." Naruto took his blood from his thumb which he pricked for the contract, did the hand signs and slammed his hand on the ground, Kuchio's no jutsu. A seal array appeared on the ground followed by a large poof of smoke. When the smoke cleared, there was a toad twice as large as Jiraiya standing in front of Naruto and Jiraiya. Jiraiya was again amused and shocked as Naruto on his first try summoned a decent-sized toad whom he could ride on. The toad saw Jiraiya and Naruto and said, "Jiraiya-sama, why have you summoned me?" Jiraiya shook his head and said, "It was not me, Gama, it was the new summoner, Naruto here, who summoned you." Naruto waved and smiled, making his presence known, and said, "Yes, Gama-san, I summoned you as Sensei gave me the contract to sign." Gama nodded and replied, "No problem, it's great you summoned someone as big as me on your first try. Try to pour more chakra to summon our boss. He would like meet a new summoner after all. A piece of advice, keep sake with you and treat all toads with respect, especially Gamabunta-sama and Shima-sama, and never call her old. Naruto saw Jiraiya shuddering, decided to take Gamma's advice. He thanked Gamma, who poofed away back to Myobokuzen. He took out a storage scroll and took out 5 sake bottles and saw Jiraiya with a questioning look in his eyes. He elaborated, "No, I don't drink sake, just keep it for bargains with some people and sometime for a special occasion." Jiraiya breathed a sigh of relief. After all, he did not need another blonde, senju-related, sake-obsessed person in his life. Naruto kept the sake bottles with himself and decided to summon another time with more chakra than before. He summoned again, and this time a large toad came out with a smoking pipe in his mouth. Jiraiya's eyes were the size of saucers, while Gamabunta was also wondering as to how the new summoner summoned him so quickly. He saw a kid in front of eyes and nearly shouted Minato out of his mouth. He looked around and said, "Who are you, Gaki, and where is Jiraiya?" Naruto stood up and answered, "I am the new summoner, Uzumaki Naruto, and sensei is down there," as he pointed towards the ground where Jiraiya had a proud smile on his face. Gamabunta widened his eyes and thought, "Minato's Gaki," as he asked, "You are the one who summoned me?" Naruto nodded and unsealed some sake bottles. Gamabunta had a gleam in his eyes as Naruto opened one bottle and said, "Care for a drink, Gamabunta-sama?" Gamabunta happily nodded as drank all the sake Naruto had and made him an official toad summoner. When Naruto got down, he saw Jiraiya drawing circles on the ground and sulking while saying something like toads and blonde Gakis being friends. Then Naruto and Jiraiya went to training. Jiraiya first put the resistance seals on his arms and legs and decided to put the gravity seal later because of Naruto's physical state. He made Naruto run for the entire week until he got acquainted with his seals. By the end of the month, Naruto was a lot better than before. Even grew a few inches because of the diet changes. He was currently in his house reading The Tales of an Utter Gutsy Shinobi. He was resting as tomorrow was the exam day and he wanted to be in top form to kick Neji's and spit in face of Sasuke. Over the month, he learned basic elemental manipulation. He was able to cut the leaf by the end of the 3rd week and burn at midway the 4th week. He was able to reverse the flow of water for 12 minutes, so in Jiraiya's and his eyes, he had still not completed the first stage of Suiten manipulation. His Raiden manipulation was also completed while he learnt the basics of the Kawazu Kumite, frog kata. Jiraiya said that to continue this style, he had to master Senjutsu first. When Naruto asked about Senjutsu, Jiraiya said that he would tell him about that during the training trip as Senjutsu was least used and most dangerous shinobi art. He learnt few jutsus of his elements and was able to do them with a few less seals. He and Jiraiya also made 2 separate seals to block the Byakugan and the Sharingan and had them on his left and right hand respectively. He was on the level 2 of resistance seals and his chakra control was also much better than before. During that time, Jiraiya got updated as lower level 10 Seal Master and Naruto himself got his certification as middle level 9 Seal Master. Naruto still remembered when Jiraiya called him Minato when he wore his new clothes and got new supplies. Naruto and Jiraiya walked into the weapons shop Jiraiya told him about, started to look for clothes. After looking for a few minutes, he got into the changing room and came out. Jiraiya was wide eyes and his mouth was slightly agape and whispered, "Minato." Naruto was wearing a black Konoha full-sleeve undershirt, black shinobi pants tucked into black boots. He wore a red glazy cloak going to his ankles along with black fingerless metal-plated gloves. He had his kunai and shuriken pouch on his right thigh. A pouch on his left hip which had explosive tags, paralysis seals, chakra suppression seals and some fuka hoin, fire suppression seal. He had a pouch on his right hip which had 2 scrolls which contained extra kunai and shuriken respectively, 200 meters long ninja wire and 20 smoke bombs. His kunai were special chakra conductive ones for him to channel his elemental chakra. He paid for the items and found the owner to be a good man who did not hate him. When he first looked at Naruto, he also widened his eyes but quickly recovered. Naruto then found out that he was Tenten's father and asked Tenten's opinion on Neji and Lee. He replied, "She is just like Neji. She says that you are a dead last will never beat Neji because he was the rookie of the year." Naruto chuckled, which covered the sound of Tenten coming through the door, and replied, "If I am right, then her idol is Senju Tsunade, right?" The man nodded as they failed to notice Tenten standing and listening to their conversation. Naruto continued, "Well, Tsunade was the kunoichi of the year and Jiraiya was the dead last. Now I think everyone knows who is the most powerful and loyal member of the Sannin and who is roaming the nations as a drunken bitch and wasting her money." Before anyone could say anything, he spoke, "Neji may be more powerful but he is not a better ninja. At least Lee doesn't say that it is not his fate to become a ninja because he can't use chakra. At least he accepts it and motivates himself to work harder. And what about Neji? If his fate is to protect the main family, then why did he try to kill Hinata, who he is supposed to protect? Wasn't he himself trying to change his own fate?" Naruto took 5 sets of his clothes and shunshined out of the shop along with Jiraiya, leaving Tenten to think for herself. Another interesting event happened when he awoke his ability to use Kongo Fusa, adamantine sealing chains. Naruto was being beaten down by Jiraiya, who was making Naruto observe and fight at the same time to grow his instincts and experience. Suddenly, when Jiraiya was about to land a punch on Naruto's face, 2 golden-colored chains came from his torso and protected him. The shock on his and Jiraiya's face was evident. He then learnt that his ability will grow over time and the chains will also grow strong. He could currently manifest 2 chains at a time to help him. Naruto smirked and just had one thought in mind: they won't know what hit them. Hyuga versus Uzumaki. Everyone except Naruto stood in the arena. Heck, even Kakashi was on time with Sasuke and was watching the match from the stands along with the other Jonin. In the stands, these seats had better be good. Forehead. From her spot, Sakura bristled, but remained quiet. The seats were good, after all. She'd shown up nearly 3 hours early to ensure they'd all gotten a front row seat to Sasuke-kun's fight. As if she'd sit in the nosebleed for such an event. As if, pig, Sakura said, finally, moving aside and patting the seat next to her that she had saved for her rival. "Yo, Sakura, Ino," barked Kiba, sliding into 2 seats in front of the girls and slinging his feet up on the railing. "Thanks for saving us such rocking seats." Hinata, taking great care to only occupy the space of 1 seat, gave a small bow in appreciation to the Team 7 matriarch. Hi. She stammered quietly, "Thank you, Sakura-san." "Oh." Sakura laughed, waving away their gratitude, "It was nothing. I'm just happy we all get to sit together." "For sure." Kiba nodded, a feral grin stretching across his lips. "And hopefully watch our teammates kick some foreign ninja ass. My boy Shino is gonna kick some major ass." "While I'm sure," Ino challenged, leaning back and checking her nails to accentuate her condescension. "That Shino had prepared far more thoroughly than you would have, dog breath." The blonde chose to make a dramatic pause for the sole purpose of basking in the low, growling noise coming from the Inuzuka before continuing. "But," she finished with a matter-of-fact tone, "Shikamaru has been training with Asuma-sensei all month. And he's even been awake for it all. I'd say he's got this tournament on lock." The implications of a conscious Nara were lost on no one. It was one of their generation's open secrets, much to the confusion of their academy teachers, but each and every student, when asked who the smartest in the class was, would point straight at the usually sleeping scion of the Nara class. For Shikamaru to actually be awake and actively interested in training would be very, very troublesome for his opponent. More interesting to Sakura, however, than Shikamaru's sudden deviation from narcolepsy was the almost proud inflection in Ino's voice as she described the teammate. The same teammate who, just months before after assignments, Ino had spent over an hour venting to Sakura, finding new and creative combination of the words, shit, lazy, and asshole. "Well, Kakashi-sensei has been training Sasuke-kun all month, too," Sakura countered, never one to let Ino have the last laugh. He's been showing him his elite, signature jutsu, so I don't think anyone else stands a chance. From his seat, Kiba suddenly staggered, his hands flying to the side of his face with a dramatic gasp. What? He whispered, turning to the others bewildered. Sakura thinks that Sasuke is going win something. I am shocked, I tell you. Sakura's fist was already posed to strike, but Ino's rolled up fight bill beat her to the punch, whacking the Inuzuka upside the head. Don't be a jackass, mutt. Ino glared, she's allowed to root for her teammates. Kiba rolled his eyes, waving his chastisement away with a dismissive hand. Please, he shot back. Then let's hear her support her other teammate. You, no, the one who barely got by me to be here. Sakura blinked. Yeah, Sakura-san, Choji smacked, suddenly entering the conversation only after fisting another handful of popcorn into his mouth. What about Naruto? Sakura blinked again, confused. What about Naruto? It was only as the blank stares of her classmates met her own that Sakura came to the sudden and startling conclusion that she had completely forgotten about the blonde idiot. Kiba, always the first to comment, slapped a hand to his forehead with a sigh. Unbelievable. He muttered, I mean I know he's dead last and all, but get out of Sasuke's butt for like 2 seconds, would you? No. Sakura shot back, rolling onto the defensive. I don't know where he is. I haven't seen him in a month. Ino gave the girl a look that made Sakura feel like she'd rather be hiding under her covers at home. You mean to tell me that you, his teammate and general center of orbit, haven't heard a peep from the single loudest ninja in the history of ninja? Well, it sounded stupid when you said it like that. No, I know. But she didn't know. She honestly had no idea where the boy had been or who he had been training, but she suddenly felt absolutely awful for not knowing. Idiot or not, Naruto was her teammate. Of course, she wanted him to do well. He didn't come to our training ground. Sakura felt her stomach churn at how pitiful of an excuse that was. And you didn't wonder where he had been. Sakura didn't even register who had asked her, as suddenly the proctor's voice filled the arena. Cage box. Hokage Dono. Fighting annoyance from his face, Sarutobi turned to the veiled Cage with a well-practiced, welcoming smile. Yes, Cage Dono. Your village is quite lovely. This arena is truly something to remember for a lifetime. Outwardly, the aged Cage's lips drew into a gracious smile. He even complimented the gesture with a small nod from his seat. I thank you, Cage Dono. Many people and great individuals work tirelessly at its upkeep. Inwardly, the Sandaime bit down a sneer. He was already on edge with his wayward student running rampant through the examination. The last thing he needed was to be hounded with asinine questions by an overbearing foreign leader. What's more, the Cage was different than the last he had met. The man. Less hard-line autocrat, more creepy movie villain, his Anbu had confided to him after surveying the man for hours. Sarutobi sighed, as if he needed more stress at his age. And for the opening match of these chunin exam finals, please welcome Hyuga Neji to Arena Center. Joining Neji for his final preparations is his squad leader, Maeda Guy of Konoha, said the proctor with a voice-amplifying technique. The arena erupted into a raucous applause. Hyuga were always a crowd favorite in home exams. The clan usually shelled out thousands to reserve prime seats for all its members, main house and branch. Even at Chunin level, the opportunity to witness the legendary Byakugan was a treat in and of itself. I have heard much of this boy's master. The Cage's gravel voice seemed to hiss. He must have trained a truly formidable student. Sarutobi nodded firmly. At least this was conversation about the task at hand, for once. Maeda Guy is one of Konoha's foremost taijutsu experts. Young Neji is extremely capable for a shinobi his age. The Cage chuckled behind his veil, his eyes locked on the arena. Then let us hope his challenge is up to the task. And now, facing Hyuga Neji in round 1, please welcome Uzumaki Naruto to the arena. Continued the proctor. For a moment, the arena was silent, and the Hokage felt his heart clench in his chest. But then, he heard it. Slower, and definitely less enthusiastic than for the first combatant, Sarutobi was unable to fight a proud smile that stretched across his face as the crowd gave a Konoha shinobi support. It had seemed that things might finally be looking up for. There was a puff next to the proctor and it revealed a small toad who said something to the proctor, who cleared his throat and continued. Assisting his apprentice in his final preparations is Densetsu no Sanin's Gama Senin Jiraiya. The moderate applause that had filled the arena went silent, and Sarutobi lurched in his chair. Hokage Dono. The Kage said urgently, his voice alarmed. I was not told Jiraiya Dono would be in attendance. You were not told, Kage Dono. The elder Kage grit out tersely, his eyes narrowing at this sudden surprise. Because I was not aware of this sudden development. Suddenly there was large puff of smoke in the arena. When it cleared, it showed the toad boss Gamabunta and two other people on his head. Suddenly a voice cried out, Myobokuzen's all-known Gama Senin, whose stories are spread in all directions, the one whom the ladies are mad after, Gama Senin Jiraiya. Then another voice cried out, the unappreciated hero of Konoha, last of a royal line and the apprentice of the great Jiraiya-sama, Uzumaki Naruto. The smoke fully cleared to show Naruto and Jiraiya leaning on each other, but nearly everyone's eyes went out of their sockets. For a moment they confused Naruto for the Yondaime Hokage. Then Gamabunta also spoke up, Myobokuzen's great toad boss, the one who has served for 3 generations and the one who helped the Yondaime against the Kyuubi, Gama Oyabun Gamabunta. Gamabunta went back in a puff of smoke, leaving only Jiraiya, Neji, Naruto and Genma in the arena. Jiraiya also soon left to the roof of the arena to watch the match from a special view. In the stands, Kakashi was now feeling even guilty. Naruto reminded him so much of his sensei, and thinking about him made him realize about his failures. Sakura near him stuttered out, Sensei, is that really Jiraiya-sama? Kakashi nodded and answered, yes Sakura, it is really Jiraiya-sama. Due to some events the Yondaime Hokage entrusted Jiraiya-sama to train Naruto, but I didn't know he would appear so soon. The other Jonin already knew that by events, Kakashi meant the Kyuubi, but they did not know about Naruto's heritage. Ino nudged her, hey. I know you're worried about Sasuke-kun, but Naruto's match is first, so why don't you stop fretting and cheer him on? Sakura turned to look at her old friend and smiled, yeah. The first match of the chunin exams will now begin. Will Hyuga Neji and Uzumaki Naruto step forward while the other competitors go the fighter's box to wait until it is your turn, said the examiner, Genma. As the other participants left, the two Ino couldn't help but say, he's up against Neji, can he actually win against him? I don't know, Sakura said honestly as she remembered their mission to Wave Country and their time in the Forest of Death. She smiled slightly, but he won't go down easy. The kid doesn't stand a chance. He's fighting a Hyuga. Someone in the audience spoke up and several others agreed with him. Kiba just grinned slightly at that and thought, yeah, that's what I thought too. Look at what happened though, I got my ass kicked. Cage box. The boy will have an easy win, spoke the Kage. Hiruzen let a small smirk grace his lips and replied, we shall see. Arena. I vow to win, Naruto spoke as he thrust out his hand towards Neji. He remembered his oath to Hinata back in the preliminaries and silently swore that he would do everything within his power to defeat Neji. You appear to believe you can win, Neji chuckled in amusement. You cannot change destiny though, fate has already decided the outcome of this match. I cannot wait to see your eyes when you realize the truth, he continued as he settled into his Juken stance. Naruto just stood there and said nothing in response. Let the first match of the Chunin exam finals begin, now. Genma called out as he jumped out of the way of the two. Almost immediately Naruto made a hand seal, Taju Kage Bunshin on Jutsu, multiple shadow clone technique, 50 shadow clones popped into existence in front of Naruto and he called out, charge. Stands. The kid knows the Taju Kage Bunshin on Jutsu. That's a Jonin level Kinjutsu. Where did he learn that, and more importantly, how can he use it so effortlessly? Azumo asked as he observed the fight. I don't understand. He can't even pull off a simple Bunshin no Jutsu. How can he use a more powerful version of the technique? Asked Katetsu in confusion. Arena. The fool, Neji thought as the clones charged. He activated his Byakugan and smirked at the oncoming one-man army and thought, his clones have an equal amount of chakra in them, so I am unable to ascertain which one is the real one, but you cannot fool my eyes. He dodged the attacks the clones sent at him and charged right at Naruto, the one who hangs back while his clones fight is the real one. He lands a Juken strike at Naruto's heart and sends him crashing into the nearby tree and called out, it's over. The Naruto. He hit, however, suddenly disappeared in a puff of smoke a moment later. Nani? The ground below at his feet suddenly parted as two golden chains came out and hit him on the chin. In the stands, everyone's eyes widened when they saw the famous chakra chains of Uzumaki Kushina back in action after 12 years. The most affected were Kurenai, Enko and Yugao, as they were Kushina's students and started to figure out about Naruto. Kurenai suddenly said, he is Sensei's son for sure. Every Jonin looked at her in disbelief while Kakashi glanced at her with the corner of his eye. Enko decided to continue, the same aptitude for pranks, last name Uzumaki, those chains, and Sensei was taken off duty 7 months before that Gaki's birthday, all the dots connect. Nai-chan. Ino asked, who are you talking about? Kurenai sensei? Before she could say anything, Kakashi said, nothing Ino, you should concentrate on the match. And Kurenai and Anko, shut your goddamn mouth if you don't want to blurt out a SS class secret and get executed without a trial. This seemed to shut them up and confirm the thing for others who also shut up. Back in arena, Neji glared and asked, how did you do it? I always kept my eyes on your original body. Do you really think I was using those clones to fight you? I was just using them to find out what you were made of. Do you really think I'm stupid enough to fight a Hyuga in close combat without an ace up my sleeve? Naruto shot back with a smirk. This ignorant little, Neji trailed off as his eyes narrowed. The clones also served another purpose, Naruto stated. And what might that be? Asked the Hyuga progeny. To find out if there was gap in your line of sight, the blonde answered truthfully. Nani? Neji turned swiftly in surprise but was unprepared for one of Naruto's clones to land a rather powerful punch to his face. The blow sent him flying back with the clones in pursuit. He located the gap in the Byakugan with his clones. Was the thought of each Hyuga in the battlefield. Finish him now, Naruto shouted to his clones as they took out their weapons to finish the job. I have no choice. I must use that jutsu, Neji thought as he touched back down on solid ground and expelled chakra from all over his body. Hakusho Kaden, 8 trigrams palms heavenly rotation, he called out as he spun and encased himself in a large ball of spinning chakra. The clones were destroyed in moments. Stands. He's really pushing Neji into a corner, Ino said in disbelief. Go Naruto. Sakura cheered at seeing her teammate beating the Hyuga. I don't believe it, Azumo said, not believing what he was seeing. This kid, Katetsu muttered under his breath as he watched Neji execute a Kaden. That plan was worthy of a practical joke, Azumo said as he let a small grin form on his lips. Sasuke was furious because Naruto had not used anything that he could copy and make use of, while Kakashi was feeling proud and guilty at the same time. He shook his thoughts and said, well Guy, it looks like Naruto is getting better of Neji. Guy reluctantly nodded and said, if he has any wild cards from Jiraiya-sama, then even Neji can't do anything against him, as he revealed his only trump card to Naruto-kun's basic jutsu. Cage box. Impressive, the Hokage commented as he smiled slightly. The boy thought up a plan almost instantly to throw off his opponent, he continued. The cage remained silent as he kept his calculating eyes on the arena below. Arena. Do you see how you cannot change destiny? My fate is to win this match. You cannot stand against fate, Neji told him. Naruto remained silent, so he continued, I have had enough of your games, I shall end this now. He charged forward faster than before and yelled, Hake Rokujian Sho. 8 trigrams 64 palms. But he stopped midway and widened his eyes and was trying to speak something. The other Hyugas also activated their Byakugan and were in the same state. Neji finally regained himself and said, How am I not able to see your Tenketsus? It's like you have vanished from the Byakugan at all. Everyone was not able to believe what Neji had just said, but they saw the entire Hyuga clan nod and decided to agree. Naruto in the stands and Jiraiya on the roof smirked as Naruto removed his left glove and showed the back of his hand to Neji, which had a seal, and said, This seal nullifies all the properties of the Byakugan, so your so-called perfect taijutsu is useless against me, and being a Hyuga and Fate's bitch, I don't think you know any ninjutsu except for the Academy 3. Stands. He's done for, Azumo sighed listening to the blonde. No one in the stands could believe that Naruto just nullified the Byakugan, one of the 3 great dojutsus. I never expected this outcome, said Ino as she shook her head as she leaned back. Naruto, Sakura thought as she remembered what he had done in the preliminaries and started to think how useless she is and how far she is behind her teammates. Cage box. Well, that is something that could earn promotion on its own. It's not every day you nullify the Byakugan, said the Hokage. The Kazekage nodded, but he was seething under his veil and furious on the inside and thought, I should kill that damn brat, he may become someone even more problematic than Pain. Arena. He clenched his as he settled his gaze on his opponent. Now do you understand, bastard? I had you beat from the start. I just wanted you to show me your trump cards first so I knew what to expect. Neji's eyes widened at that and thought, he had this plan from the start. Suddenly 4 kunai on the field puffed to reveal 5 Kage Bunshin who surrounded Neji along with the real Naruto and made a pentagram around him. The clones rushed at speeds as fast as Lee without his weights and tied each of Neji's limbs with a ninja wire which they clenched with their teeth. Stands. He is as fast as Lee without his weights, but how? Asked a flabbergasted guy. Because of resistance seals, called out a voice from behind. Everyone turned back to see Jiraiya with a smirk on his face. Everyone nodded, understanding what Jiraiya meant. Jiraiya then approached Kakashi and said, Well, Kakashi, you have lost every right on him. Currently he is not a member of your team and he will certainly gain a promotion, and even the council can't do anything about that. I must say, he was very angry and broken that his sensei did this to his surrogate father's son. Kakashi's eyes widened in shock and he said, You mean? Jiraiya nodded and said, Well, I found a diamond in the rough. His genius is not as much as Minato but definitely as good as yours when you were a kid, and he has 4 nature affinities. Every Jonin widened their eyes. Not even Kages had 4 affinities on such a young age. As Jiraiya continued, You could have passed on your Raiden jutsus to someone, but you lost your chance. Kakashi was now filled with more guilt as Jiraiya motioned him to look at the match. Arena. Now each of Neji's limbs was with 1 clone each. Suddenly the real Naruto in front of Neji rushed at him and tied a ninja wire around his torso and clenched it in his teeth. The clones then came to Naruto and gave their wires to Naruto, who was now holding 5 wires in his mouth. Naruto stepped back and nodded to all the clones. The 4 clones made hand signs and called out, Kaden. Ruka no Jutsu, Fire Release, Dragon Fire Technique. Suiten. Teppadama, Water Release, Gunshot. Raiden Jaibashi, Lightning Release, Electromagnetic Murder. Futon. Daitapa, Wind Release, Great Breakthrough. Everyone watched with wide eyes as 1 clone exhaled fire like a projectile towards Neji as he was burning and screaming. When the flame cleared, he had 1st and 2nd degree burns on his body. Soon an orb of water was spewed from another clone's mouth and gave Neji some relief, but it was short-lived as the 3rd clone slammed his hands on the ground and electricity traveled towards him, electrocuting and numbing him. The last clone exhaled wind from his mouth as it blew Neji to the arena wall where he slammed and was bleeding from the various cuts on his body. The clones went up in a puff of smoke as Naruto approached Neji. Neji looked up and said, "How?" Naruto answered, "Through hard work, anyone could beat a genius. Lee never said that it was not his fate or something like that, instead he worked hard and here he is today, same as with me." Neji nodded and looked up at the sky as the proctor called out, "Shusha Uzumaki Naruto." The crowd erupted in claps and cheers as Naruto looked around with a happy and true smile on his face and made his way back to the participants' box. "Stands. He won!" screamed Sakura as she pumped her fist into the air and said, "Shanaru." The Jonin were surprised and they agreed with Jiraiya as how Naruto showed 4 nature affinities and was only slightly winded from that attack. Kakashi noticed something but decided to stay quiet about it. Matches. Sasuke vs Gaara. Sasuke tried Chidori and failed and reluctantly gave up but increased Gaara's bloodlust a lot. Naruto stood in the same position eyeing down his opponent, he still had the same confident smile on his face. He had seen Gaara fight Lee nearly a month ago and he saw the destructive power that boy held, and he was certain that he probably grew even stronger in the past month. That didn't matter to Naruto though, he was confident in his own growth and progression and he knew that he could take Gaara easily. Jiraiya had trained him for this moment and he worked incredibly hard in that month. He wanted to make his parents proud and he wanted to prove a point to everyone here. Uzumaki Naruto, the demon child of Konoha, was no more, in front of everyone was the new Naruto. "I'm sure you two already know the rules, now are you ready to begin this fight?" asked Genma. Both nodded as Genma nodded in understanding. He soon raised his arm to the air and declared, "Alright, here is the first fight for the semifinals. The winner obviously advances through to the final where he will be pit up against either Aburame Shino or Sabaku no Tamari." Genma then glanced at the two one final time and he could see that the two were ready to go and declared, "Hajime." Immediately after starting the fight between these two promising genin, Genma was intelligent enough to quickly move out of the way. Naruto released his seals and made 10 kage bunshin that ran at Gaara at an insane pace. The stoic redhead however remained standing in the same position as he was not even flinching from the fast blondes. The clones grew closer to Gaara and he scoffed and gathered sand from his gourd and swiped the squad of clones away, all dispelling leaving a plume of smoke. Naruto assessed the situation. He was intrigued, he was beginning to make notes in his mind. It looks like he uses sand for all his ninjutsu and he doesn't let anyone come close. So he's not a taijutsu or close range fighter, plus with that crazy biju and that failure of seal, he will not be able to use genjutsu, so it means that he has insane reserves, probably low to mid jonin, and that he can access his biju's chakra. I just have to make him run out of chakra, then I can put that biju no yokusei fuin tailed beast suppression seal that sensei gave to me on him to restrain him, he thought to himself. Before Naruto put his plan into place though, he continued to attack Gaara with a flurry of shadow clones and shuriken, all of which his opponent easily managed to defend against. Cage's booth. Up in the booth, the Cage watched the battle in intrigue. There was yet to be any major moves on either side. The civilians, they were waiting for Naruto to show his cool jutsus again, but to a ninja's eyes it was clear that Naruto was playing it smart and safe by first testing the capabilities of his opponent. He would be foolish to rush in headstrong without really knowing Gaara's powers. I will have to see. If this brat defeats Gaara, then I will have to kill him or recruit him. Maybe I can use the identity of his parents to do that. The attack may as well be delayed for a few hours, thought Orochimaru. Arena. Gaara was getting frustrated by Naruto's lackluster attacks. He was aware that he could do much more than these petty and weak shuriken and clones. He felt the chakra in the forest of death, and he knew Naruto was just like him, but he had yet to display those powers of his. He had been waiting for this moment for the past month. He had dreamed about finally fighting against someone who could give him a challenge. At first the Uchiha intrigued him, but as soon as he felt the familiar chakra in the forest he knew that he had to change his target. Gaara was done playing these trivial games, he wanted to fight Naruto demon to demon. Naruto raised a suspicious eyebrow at Gaara. The redhead in front of him began to finally show a bit of emotion. Instead of his blank face, Gaara began to chuckle darkly. The expression and the killer intent he released even gave Naruto the chills. Looks like the Biju really did a number on his mind, thought Naruto. What are you laughing at? He asked. You know, you and I are a lot alike. We're actually the same, inside, he said with a sinister grin on his face. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. He did not suspect that Gaara would know about that detail. What do you mean? He asked cautiously. The Suna ninja's chuckle grew only darker. We hold the same beast, we hold the same burden, he sold rather softly for only Naruto to hear. The crowd around them whispered among themselves, they were unsure what was going on. So far the start of the fight had been a bit of a letdown, and they couldn't necessarily hear what Naruto and Gaara were talking about. The two spoke just loud enough for each other to hear but not enough for the crowd. Naruto stared at Gaara with a blank expression. How many? He asked. The redhead chuckled and lifted a single finger. Naruto quickly took note of that and nodded. Gaara then proceeded to attack once more, this time sending a large fist made of sand towards Naruto. The young blonde quickly made the 6 seals instead of the usual 7 for this jutsu and said, Kaden, Gokaku no Jutsu, fire release, great fireball technique. The sand fist collided with the fireball and slowly turned into glass and shattered. Naruto smirked and said, nice try, but 9 beats 1. Stands. The civilians were cheering again as they saw Naruto and Gaara getting serious and doing cool jutsus. The shinobi population was another thing. The ones who knew that technique were wondering how Naruto did it with less hand seals. The Konoha 12 were unable to move or react. They couldn't believe that this was the same Naruto they met a month ago. Many of the genin had similar thoughts crossing their minds. They were wondering what happened to the old Naruto, where he learned these new techniques, and how he got so strong suddenly. Some deduced that it was Jiraiya, but even with a Sannin, how could someone get so strong in a month? The Naruto in front of them was not the same old Naruto they knew just a few weeks back. This was a whole new Naruto. Sasuke was again in his, how is he strong, I deserve it mode. Not only Naruto did his clan's trademark jutsu as strong as him, he was not at all winded and he did it with less hand seals. Arena. Gaara merely grinned, ah, this gets better, I see. 9 versus 1, the Kitsune versus the Tanuki, he said as a sickly smile and a bloodthirsty laugh erupted from the usually silent and stoic boy. Well then 9, you better not hold back, I came here for a fight and I expect a fight. Prepare yourself, or die, yelled Gaara as he quickly gathered a large wave of sand and sent them his opponent's way. Naruto knew that he had to counter it or he was doomed. He made some hand seals and pumped chakra to his lungs and yelled, Sweden, Mizoripa, water release, wild water wave. A large wave of water expelled from Naruto's mouth which soaked the sand, rendering it useless. Naruto looked a little winded and thought, damn it, I still need to work on Sweden manipulation, it takes a lot of chakra to make water from one's own chakra. Suna no Kaiwan, monstrous sand arm. A massive replica of Shukaku's sand arm sprung forth from the ground and started swiping around the arena. Naruto was left to take a defensive stance against this attack. He had barely managed to dodge them. He ran around the arena dodging these attacks, but while running away he was tactically placing explosive tags on tree stumps around the area. Eventually though he was caught by Gaara's attack and he was held into the air, but before he could squeeze his hand Naruto escaped with yet another substitution, but this time the tree stump he substituted with had an explosive tag. The hand of sand exploded, destroying the jutsu. Gaara chuckled, sneaky little kitsune, now quit running and fight me, he demanded. Naruto emerged from one of the few remaining trees in the arena. He jumped up from the tree and summoned 2 shadow clones. The 2 clones made hand signs along with Naruto, he landed as all 3 yelled. Kaden. Ruka no Jutsu, fire release, dragon fire technique. Futon. Daitapa, wind release, great breakthrough. Raiden. Jaibashi, lightning release, electromagnetic murder. A stream of fire encased by lightning attacked Gaara, who made a shield around him which burned off within seconds and attacked Gaara. Quite a powerful attack you have. Too bad for you, my Suna no Yoroi, armor of sand managed to neutralize it. Naruto inspected his opponent and smiled lightly after his rather confident statement. Think again, he said while pointing at his forehead. Gaara placed his hand into his forehead and there he felt some sort of liquid. Upon further inspection he realized that his right hand was soaked in a bit of blood. His eyes widened in shock but his smile grew more and more in size. You made me bleed, I can't believe it, twice in a month. Yet another worthy opponent, he said. Ryu Sabakuryu, quicksand waterfall flow, he yelled as he unleashed yet another giant wave of sand, but unlike last time this one was much larger in scale and size. Fuck. I only know the Teppadama and Mizorapa, I need to think of something else. Naruto made a clone which did the Mizorapa and slowed the sand down to buy him time, while he bit his thumb and did the necessary hand signs and slammed his hands on the ground and yelled, Kuchio's no jutsu. Gamma appeared in the arena and greeted, Naruto, what do you require of me? Naruto replied, Gamma-san, please spew oil on that sand and my opponent to slow him down and prepare him for my next jutsu. Gamma nodded and did the same and dispelled. Naruto again made hand signs and yelled, Kaden, Ruka no jutsu. Everyone watched as the massive sand tsunami and Gaara were engulfed by fire, heating the arena considerably. As the fire died down, a voice belonging to Gaara said, This is really getting interesting now, ha ha ha. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. The tone in which Gaara said that was much deeper than it should have been. He watched as soon as his opponent emerged from the area of attack, but he wasn't the same Gaara as before. Instead, in front of him was a downsized form of Shukaku. The crowd gasped at the demonic form in front of the stage. They didn't know what it was, but they were frightened by the powerful killer intent being released by the demonic figure. Cage's booth. The Cage scowled upon seeing Gaara's demonic form. He had hoped to watch their battle a little further, but with Gaara getting pushed to the limits he had no other choice but to commence his attack prematurely. The Cage slyly grabbed a smoke bomb in his pocket and unleashed it into the ground. The audience's attention quickly turned to the Cage's booth, and as soon as the smoke receded they saw the Cage holding their beloved Hokage with a kunai to his throat. The crowd roared in anger upon the sight. Immediately after this the Cage jumped up with the Hokage in his arms. Jiraiya of course followed suit to protect his sensei. The Cage landed onto the roof of the arena, and once there the Hokage noticed 4 of his minions on the corners of the roof about to complete a jutsu. Unlucky for them though, Jiraiya arrived at the scene just in time before a powerful barrier jutsu was placed between Jiraiya and the 2 cages. Stands. The civilians were all panicking at the sudden attack. Immediately after the smoke erupting from the Cage's booth there was a flurry of explosions going off in different areas of Konoha. The civilians all tried to run away from the arena in hopes of finding safety, but unfortunately for them there was someone in the crowd who unleashed a rather potent sleeping genjutsu. Many of the civilians fell onto the ground with an unforgiving thud as they fell to a deep slumber. The ninjas though managed to repel this attack and so they remained standing. But then all the Suna and Oto ninjas in the area began to attack the Konoha shinobi. More and more reinforcements for Suna and Oto arrived at the scene. The Jonin and Anbu in the premises quickly acted and fought off the invading forces. The Konoha 12 however remained in one corner unsure of what to do. None of them had ever experienced something like this before. Then out of nowhere 5 Oto ninjas appeared out of nowhere about to strike the genin. Normally genins such as Neji and Sasuke would be able to fight these guys off, but unfortunately for them they were still recovering from their fight just a while ago. But before the Oto ninjas could strike the genin, a certain masked jonin arrived just in time to strike down the enemies. Sakura and Sasuke looked on in surprise at the man's sudden arrival. Kakashi-sensei, they yelled. With Naruto, the young blonde was utterly confused as to what was happening. One second he was fighting Gaara head to head, and now Konoha seemed to be at war with both Oto and Suna. He turned his head back to Gaara only to find that the crazed young man was running off from the arena. even though his logic told him to follow him and try to restrain him. But in the end, he couldn't just leave Konoha in the midst of such an attack. He decided to go help the rest of Konoha protect against the incoming forces, and as soon as things cleared up he would go on and try to catch up on Gaara. With Naruto being one to follow his gut instinct, he ran towards the main source of carnage within Konoha. But before running towards that direction, he had an idea. He again summoned a giant teal-colored toad with twin katanas on his back. He looked at him and said, "Gamahiro-san, I think it's probably best if you stay here and help the Konoha ninjas fight off these invading forces," he said. Gamahiro nodded and jumped off from the arena into the streets of Konoha. After leaving the stadium he quickly found many large snake summons roaming the city wreaking havoc. Why is it always the snakes? He asked himself before jumping towards a snake nearly his size. While this was happening, Naruto ran towards Gaara, even though he knew that his chances were slim. With Kakashi, the masked Jonin watched as his blonde student ran after the Aikibi's Jinchuriki. After having dispatched the men who tried to attack the genin, he quickly handed them orders. "Alright kids, I know none of you are really prepared for something like this, but you're now all genin of Konoha, and as genin you are all required to help Konoha in this time of need. As your superior officer, I'll be giving you all specific orders which you all need to follow. Are we clear?" he explained in a stern and serious tone. The Jonin looked at both his students first. "Sasuke, Sakura, I need you two to go and follow that Gaara kid along with Naruto, and I want you two to bring Shikamaru and Shino with you," he ordered. The four nodded and quickly ran off to catch up with the two Jinchurikis. He then turned to Team Guy. "As for you three, I need you to help evacuate the people in this stadium. It's dangerous right now for them to lie here half asleep from that damn jutsu. Don't worry though, I'll get some Anbu to watch over you guys just in case," he said. Then finally he looked at Ino, Choji, Kiba and Hinata. "I want you guys to do the same thing Team Guy is doing, but head over to the opposite side of the stadium. I'll make sure to have Anbu guard you guys just in case," ordered Kakashi. With Hiruzen and Jiraiya, "Kukuku, looks like we're here for a wee reunion. All we're missing is Tsunade, the cage," whispered in Hiruzen's ear. "What are you talking about?" the Hokage yelled in anger. Jiraiya watched, unsure of what to do in the current situation. He could only watch as the cage suddenly used his free hand to rip the skin off his face. The Sannin was at first disgusted at the sight, but soon his eyes widened in shock upon seeing the true face of the cage. "Orochi Tem," he yelled in anger. Hiruzen scowled upon seeing Orochimaru's face off the corner of his eye. He knew there was something oddly familiar about the cage, and here it is. It was his wayward student all along. "Kukuku, it's good to see you two once more, it's been far too long." While Orochimaru was speaking, Hiruzen slyly elbowed the snake Sannin in the gut while he was in the midst of speaking. Orochimaru winced and his hold on the Hokage loosened, giving him a chance to escape and jump back to join Jiraiya. Orochimaru began to chuckle. "It looks like you still have a wee bit of skill in those bones, old man. I may not be as strong as I used to be, Orochimaru, but I am still powerful enough to defeat you," Hiruzen replied confidently. "Hey, now you two, don't forget I'm here too. You'd be an idiot to fight us both, Orochimaru. Just give up now," the perverted Sannin exclaimed. Orochimaru then began to chuckle menacingly. He did some hand signs and clapped his hands together, and soon 3 coffins began to rise from the ground. Each coffin had a number placed on the top. There were 3 numbers all in all. They had numbers 1, 2 and 4 in their kanji forms. Hiruzen's eyes widened in disbelief and his blood ran cold as he gazed upon the forbidden jutsu his sensei created. He couldn't believe that his student knew how to perform it. "Jiraiya, we need to stop him," Hiruzen yelled as he threw some shurikens and weaved through hand seals. "Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Shuriken Shadow Clone Technique," he yelled. Soon Jiraiya caught on as to what was happening, and he followed suit with his sensei. Unfortunately, they had enough to stop the last coffin from rising from the ground, but it wasn't enough to stop the first 2 coffins from rising from the ground. Orochimaru's sinister laugh echoed across the rooftop as soon as the coffin opened. Kuchiyos, Edo Tensai, summoning, impure world reincarnation, Orochimaru whispered. Hiruzen was enraged and Jiraiya was lost for words. In front of them were the deceased bodies of the legendary Senju brothers Hashirama and Tobirama. The lifeless bodies' eyes opened immediately, and the figures walked out of the coffin to face the two of them. They looked around and Hashirama said, "Look, Tobirama, I told you to not make this jutsu, but no, let's not listen to Aniki, elder brother, you said." "Shut up. I didn't know that someone would use it against Konoha and most of all, summon us against Konoha," replied Tobirama. He looked around as his eyes landed on Hiruzen and said, "Saru, is that you?" Hashirama also looked at Hiruzen as he replied, "Yes, sensei, it is me, it has been a long time to be honest." Hashirama jokingly said, "That I can see, it seems like we are under attack." "Yes, sensei, it pains me to fight you but I will have to do it as the Hokage of Konoha." "Still the Hokage, but the rock has 4 faces, what happened to the Yondaime?" asked a curious Tobirama. To this Jiraiya replied, "Nadaime-sama, 12 years ago, the Kyuubi attacked Konoha. He used an Uzumaki Kinjutsu and sealed the Kyuubi at the code of his own life. He even took your Hiraishin to another level and won us the 3rd Great Ninja War single-handedly. Too bad the brat died at 24, he was a genius in his own right." I myself have to say that his achievements are beyond his age. That aside, Saru, why am I not sensing any Senju chakra signatures? Not only that but there seemed to be only one Uzumaki and Uchiha chakra signature. What happened to the Senju, Uzumaki and Uchiha? Asked Tobirama. Listening to this Hashirama's face grew serious. The 3 great clans no more, has that much time passed already? Hiruzen sighed and said, "The Senjus died in the first and second wars, only your grandniece Tsunade is alive from the Senjus. The Uchiha were massacred by one of their own and the Uzumakis were attacked no slaughtered by the combined forces of Kumo and Iwa, which led to the start of the Second War." Hashirama groaned and said, "No matter whichever the era, war is always there. I think that we have talked enough, time for you to attack them and kill them," said Orochimaru, who inserted a kunai with a seal in each of their heads and controlled them. Jiraiya said, "Sensei, give me 10 to 20 minutes, I can make a counter seal to Orochimaru's own." Hiruzen nodded and went to fight his senseis while Jiraiya started to make a counter seal to Orochimaru's seal. With Sasuke, the group as a whole followed the trail of destruction that Gaara left, but as soon as they grew closer to Gaara's location there seemed to be a roadblock in the way. "Stop right there." The group looked over to the source of the voice and there they saw Temari and Kankuro standing there prepared to fight the group. Shikamaru sighed upon the sight. "Troublesome," he muttered to himself. "Sasuke, Sakura, you two go ahead, me and Shino will handle these guys," said Shikamaru confidently. "Are you sure, Shikamaru?" Sakura asked. The lazy Nara nodded. "Go you two, we can handle this." Sakura thanked him and the 2 members of Team 7 were off in search of Gaara. "Tch, how noble of you, little boy, but this time I'm winning against you," yelled Temari. Shino on the other hand were staring out at Kankuro. "I presume Shikamaru wants to fight a solo one," he silently told himself. Kankuro smirked as he stared at Shino. "I wasn't able to show off my true ability a while ago, but prepare yourself now, bug boy, it's time for me to unveil my true powers," he yelled. With Sasuke and Sakura, the 2 arrived to find Gaara practically covered in his armor of sand, and just as they arrived Gaara began to emit an evil laugh. "Finally, I was expecting to see Naruto, but oh well, I guess the last Uchiha will suffice for now. Quite the treat for mother." Sasuke stared out the Jinchuriki with no fear whatsoever, but Sakura on the other hand was easily affected by the killer intent radiating from the red-haired Sunanin. She was forced to take a step back out of fear. Sasuke stood his ground but he was a bit too excited to fight the young Jinchuriki. From what he's seen, Gaara was quite a powerful opponent and he was excited to test his skills against this kid but with no restrictions or rules whatsoever. Sasuke confidently jumped in to quickly fight Gaara. "Kaden, Gokaku no Jutsu," he yelled as a fireball flew towards Gaara. Gaara immediately followed suit with Suna no Tate, shield of sand, to protect himself from the incoming fire attack. Sasuke-kun, what are you doing? Sakura yelled in shock. Don't interfere, Sakura. I want to fight him myself. I can handle him, Sasuke yelled. You idiot, we'd be better if we worked together. Don't, Sakura. I want to do this myself and you can't even contribute much to this. I know I can do this myself. Do not interfere, he hissed in anger. Sakura was hurt by that statement, but she knew it was somewhat true. She had to stay back. Even she had to admit she would only be a burden to him right now. Is that all you got, Uchiha? Sabaku. Hando Desert. Hand, Gaara yelled as massive hands of sand began to surround Sasuke in hopes of crushing the young Uchiha. Sasuke scowled before releasing Kaden Ruka no Jutsu to turn the incoming hands of sand into glass with the sheer heat of his flames. Sasuke smirked before kicking the glass hands apart. Suna no Kaiwan. Another massive hand of sand emerged trying to capture Sasuke, but the Uchiha opened his Sharingan and he managed to dodge and anticipate the movement of the gigantic hands. Then Gaara decided to take his attacks up a notch. While in his miniature Shukaku form he began to release Suna Shuriken, Sand Shuriken, towards Sasuke. Kaden Gokaku no Jutsu, Sasuke used as a counter. Gaara immediately followed suit with Renden Suna Shigur, successive shots sand drizzle, but this time Sasuke didn't have time to dodge the attacks. He was hit by a flurry of sand projectiles. He was still recovering from his fight with Gaara, so the sand projectiles that hit him managed to only further his injuries. Sasuke grimaced in pain and he clutched his bloodied torso. Gaara was running out of patience. He wanted to deal with Sasuke to finally reach Naruto. While Sasuke was injured by those shots, Gaara decided to toy with his opponent for a little bit. Let me reintroduce you to Pain, Uchiha, he said menacingly. With Naruto. The young blonde was stopped by some Odo shinobi, but Asuma arrived as he left to search for Gaara. While in search of Gaara, he stopped by a certain forest clearing and there he found a panting Shikamaru and Shino standing there looking after the unconscious bodies of Temari and Kankuro. What the hell happened here? Naruto asked in shock. Shikamaru turned back to see Naruto. We just dealt with these two and Shino and I are done for now. Naruto, your two teammates ran up ahead in search of Gaara. Go quickly. I don't know what's happened thus far, but Gaara is a powerful opponent even for Sasuke, he said. Naruto's eyes widened in shock. What direction did they go? He asked. Shikamaru pointed north. I wish I could come along, Naruto, but me and Shino barely have any energy or chakra left and someone needs to look after these two, he said while pointing at Kankuro and Temari. Naruto nodded in understanding. Don't worry, you two, you've both done enough. Let me handle Gaara. But as soon as Naruto said that, he heard a massive roar appear from a few kilometers north. A gargantuan entity of sand rose from the ground in the shape of a tanuki. Shikamaru and Shino looked on in fear of the being. What the fuck is that? Shikamaru yelled in fear. Naruto's heart nearly stopped. If Sasuke and Sakura were fighting him, then they were in definite danger now that he's released his Biju. Damn it. I need to go now, Shikamaru, he yelled as he ran as fast as he could towards the Biju. With Sakura. The young Pinkett screamed for dear life. Sasuke was bloodied, bruised and plain beaten, and now that Gaara kid turned into this massive monster. She didn't know what to do. She knew she couldn't handle this sort of fight and her only protection was now down and out. Gaara in his Shukaku form turned towards the bloodied and unconscious Sasuke. He used his gigantic hand to grab the boy. He could have easily killed him and crushed him there, but he chose to place him in a nearby tree where he had a massive cluster of sand surrounding him. Then he turned his attention to the young Pinkett in the vicinity. Don't think I forgot about you now. I'm saving the Uchiha for later, but for now I guess I may as well just kill you, he said while chuckling. Gaara raised his massive hand of sand and was about to swipe away at the tree Sakura stood on. The Pinkett watched as her life was about to be taken away from her. Tears fell from her face. At this point of time she just accepted her inevitable death. It was coming and there was nothing she could do about it. But just before the hand swept at her, she closed her eyes instinctively. Death seemed inevitable at this point, but just a few milliseconds before the gigantic hand of sand managed to decimate the area she stood on. He was running a wee bit late. He arrived only to see Gaara on the verge of killing Sakura. He pumped as much chakra to his legs and he ran as fast as he could. Luckily he managed to reach Sakura just in the nick of time, carrying her away from the danger, and jumping off to the top of a nearby tree. Naruto carried the unsuspecting Sakura in a bridal style. He glanced back from the corner of his eye to stare at Gaara. Naruto was beyond angry. Had he been a little bit later, he was certain the girl he loved would have died. Sakura opened her teary eyes in shock to find Naruto carrying her. A small blush adorned her cheeks, but overall, she was just happy to see Naruto. Recently she had been a bit scared of Naruto with the events transpiring in the Forest of Death. She was still frightened by Naruto, but seeing him made her feel a sense of relief, seeing as how he did just save her life. Naruto turned back to face Sakura. He gave her a soft smile to try and calm her down. "Sorry I was late. Are you alright, Sakura-chan?" he asked. Sakura nodded shakily. "Yeah, I think I'm alright, arigato Naruto," she replied. Naruto nodded before allowing her to stand again. "Where's Sasuke?" he asked fearfully. Sakura bit her bottom lip before pointing at the cluster of sand stuck into the side of a tree. Naruto saw this and nodded. "I see," he replied. Gaara chuckled. "Well, I'm glad you finally made it. I left your friend Uchiha on the wall over there as a precaution. If you want him to be set free, you'll first have to defeat me, but you only have an hour to do so. If we pass an hour, then I will crush him with my sands," he yelled. "You're a sick bastard, I'll make you pay for this. I will not let you get away with this." Naruto then turned back to the Pinkett. "Sakura-chan, I suggest you step back for now and watch from afar. Let me deal with him myself," he said confidently. Sakura nodded before jumping back away from the fight, but before heading back she turned back to Naruto. "I'm sorry if I've been avoiding you, Naruto, but thank you so much," she said. Naruto's eyes widened in shock while his cheeks reddened considerably. "Don't worry about it, Sakura-chan, I will always be here when you need me," he replied. The young blonde then turned back to Gaara with a serious expression. It looked rather heroic. Naruto stared out at his opponent, his trenchcoat flapping in the wind. Naruto was like the spitting image of his own father when he saved Kushina from the Kyuubi. History had a way of repeating itself sometimes. "Prepare yourself, Gaara. As the future Hokage of Konoha, I will not let you harm Konoha further. I will stop you right here, right now." Naruto, despite saying that, was tired and felt that he did not have enough chakra to summon Gamabunta. He never carried soldier pills with him. He did not know how to do anything now. Suddenly, he started to collapse. The strain of fighting Neji and Gaara caught up with him. He got ready for the impact, but it never came. Mindscape. Naruto found himself in a dimly lit sewer. He found a force calling him. He decided to go towards that. He soon found himself in front of a massive cage with a kanji for seal, Feng Yin, in the middle. He looked confused and was about to turn and go away when a growl reached his ears. He looked at the cage again and saw a massive nine-tailed fox, or the Kyuubi no Yoko, in its full glory. The fox said to create massive tsunamis and destroy mountains with just a swipe of its tail. "So we finally meet, you pathetic ninja, human," growled the fox. Naruto just stood there, slightly affected by Kyuubi's presence, and yelled, "Yes, you damn kitsune, what do you want?" Kyuubi growled and released a bit of its killing intent, and the effect was instantaneous. Naruto was on his knees, finding it a little hard to breathe. Sheesh, the Kyuubi really was no joke. He then suddenly had an idea. He stood up and yelled, "You damn fox, give me some of your chakra, I need it to win my fight with Gaara." Kyuubi laughed and replied, "Why should I even consider this, you brat?" Naruto thought to convince Kyuubi, but suddenly had an idea and smirked. The smirk that he had while pranking or taking revenge. It sent a shiver down even Kyuubi's spine, but he ignored it. Naruto then said, "Oh well, And here I thought that the world will see how the Kyuubi Jinchuriki is stronger than the Aikibi won, but it seems like that people will think that the Aikibi defeated the mighty Kyuubi. Kyuubi growled, the brat got him good, just like his father and, that damned Uchiha, he had no option but to comply with him or risk being compared to that damned Tanuki Shukaku. He said, I will comply this time because, I don't want to be compared to that damned Tanuki, but remember, I will someday get out of here and devour you and any Uchiha out there. Naruto ignored the threat but thought about the Uchiha part. Something must have happened to make Kyuubi hate the Uchihas. Orange-red chakra suddenly seeped through the seal and made its way towards Naruto, who was thrown out of his mind by the Kyuubi. Real world. Just as Naruto was about to hit his face onto the branch, he suddenly stopped using his hands and stood up. Soon red chakra became visible around him and started to swirl. Gaara, upon seeing this, got more excited and grinned maniacally. Naruto felt his reserves filling back up and Kyuubi's chakra flowing through his coils. He bit his thumb, did the hand signs and yelled, Kuchio's no jutsu. Gamabunta looked at his surroundings wondering what exactly was happening. What's going on here, Naruto? Why'd you summon me now? Gamabunta roared in annoyance. Before Naruto could reply, Gaara screamed a mighty roar, grabbing Gamabunta's attention. Gamabunta's eyes widened in shock at the sight of Gaara in his Aikibi form. Forget what I just said, brat. It's been a while since I had a good fight, the Toad Chief claimed with a cocky grin. Naruto nodded before bracing himself while on the top of Gamabunta's gigantic head. He crossed his arms as he stared down his opponent. Looks like things finally got serious, said Gaara. In that case I have no other choice. Tanuki Niri no Jutsu, feigning sleep technique. Naruto and Gamabunta watched curiously as the strange boy began to sleep in broad daylight. The two were surprised by this choice. But then a dark and sinister laugh emerged from the figure in front of them. It was a laugh much different from Gaara's. It was much deeper and far more menacing. I'm free, yelled the Tanuki figure, that brat finally let me free. All of you prepare to die, nothing will stop me now. Naruto's eyes widened upon realization of what had just happened. Gaara had allowed the Aikibi full control to defeat him. Gamabunta realized the same thing and glanced at his summoner. Are you ready, brat? This is going to be a tough fight, exclaimed Gamabunta. Naruto stood up confident as he stared down the Aikibi. He may have been young, but he was not fearful of the danger that laid in front of him. He couldn't afford to fear him. He was tasked with protecting his friends and his home, and he would stop at nothing to make sure that the Tanuki would not reach Konoha. It was a Hokage's duty to protect Konoha from any danger, and as the son of a former Hokage and as a boy who dreams of one day also becoming Hokage, he relished this moment. This was the time for him to prove himself. This was the time for him to show the world his true power. Aikibi, you will not win this fight today. I will stop you right here right now. I will protect Konoha, Naruto yelled with a fierce determination. Gamabunta could only smile as this feeling in this situation right here felt oh so familiar. It was 13 years ago when Gamabunta helped Minato fight off the Kyuubi to protect Konoha, and now here he was helping Naruto, Minato's own son, protect Konoha from a similar threat, the Aikibi. Like father like son, the Toad Chieftain fondly thought to himself, it was an honor serving Minato, and I expect remarkable things from you as well, Naruto. Gamabunta then charged at the Aikibi and slashed him with his giant sword. The Aikibi countered this by grabbing the sword with his hand. With his free hand, he attempted to punch the toad, only for Naruto to throw a kunai with an explosive tag to destroy the arm momentarily until the sand that was blown off returned to the creature. The two large beings then clashed with their remaining arms and they wrestled in a battle of strength. While in this close standoffish situation, Gamabunta decided to use a sneaky attack to render his opponent momentarily. While both hands were busy fending off their opponent's own, the toad managed to knead a large bullet of water and send it crashing into the Aikibi's torso. Sweden. Teppadama. The Aikibi was sent back and he had to nurse his damaged stomach. While in this state, Gamabunta jumped up into the sky preparing to attack the creature with his weapon. Gamato Suzin, Toad Sword Beheading. The toad managed to cut the creature in half, separating the lower body from the upper body with the waist as the divider, as both halves unceremoniously fell to the ground. Gamabunta sheathed his weapon before smiling confidently. It appeared the battle was over. Naruto sighed in relief, but just before he was about to congratulate his toad companion, the menacing chuckle returned. The two turned to see the Ikibi's two halves reforming together, and the two were left shocked and slightly discouraged. It's going to take more than that to defeat me, taunted the Biju. Both Naruto and Gamabunta clenched their jaws. Damn, how are we meant to defeat this guy then? Naruto yelled in frustration before the toad once again unsheathed his sword, preparing for round 2 with the mythical Biju. Suddenly a voice came from his head, "You have to wake up his container." Naruto looked around and thought, Kyuubi. He heard a growl as the Kyuubi spoke again. "Who else, brat? As I was saying, if you wake up the container, Shukaku's form will recede and you can't cause him any damage as he is a sand spirit. He will reform as soon as you do anything to him." Naruto relayed this information to Gamabunta and they began to form a plan to wake up Gaara. With Hiruzen, the Hokage was breathing raggedly as he fought not only Orochimaru but his senseis. Lucky for him, he had Jiraiya on his side. The perverted Sannin gave him 2 tags with the counter seals and kept 2 for himself. "Jiraiya, I need you to keep them occupied for a while. We can end this," Hiruzen said in an authoritative tone. Jiraiya could only nod as he jumped up to attack his old teammate and the Hokages. The battle raged on with Jiraiya doing his best to hold them down. Of course it was easier said than done seeing how those 3 were cage-level ninjas. Hiruzen watched on as he prepared his jutsu. He wanted to help Jiraiya, but he needed to end this now. He knew of the effects of the Kuchiyos. Edo Tensei, it wasn't Orochimaru they were truly worried about, it was an immortal Shodaime and Nadaime. They could attack them all they wanted, but they'd just regenerate instantly. Thankfully his sensei Senju Tobirama, the creator of said jutsu, also made a failsafe in case this would be used against Konoha. It was a delicate and difficult seal to make, that's why it took Jiraiya time to make it. The seal was complex to make and his sensei Tobirama based it on the Keiyaku Fuin contract seal used on summoned creatures. This seal's purpose was to remove any direct control the summoner has on any summoned creatures, and with the zombies from the Edo Tensei technically being summoned creatures, Tobirama used the idea of the Keiyaku Fuin to create a countermeasure for his own jutsu, the Kuchiyos, Edo Tensei. Once the powerful seal tag was finally formed, Hiruzen yelled at his wayward student, "You've disappointed me, Orochimaru, and for that you will have to pay. Jiraiya, take care of Orochimaru. Leave both to me for now," he ordered. "I'm sorry for this, sensei," Hiruzen said apologetically. They could only sigh in return. "It is we who must apologize, Hiruzen," replied Tobirama before jumping to attack the Sandaime Hokage. Hiruzen ducked and kicked him away a few meters. Kuchiyos no Jutsu. Enma rose from the smoke and stared down the 2 enemies. He gasped at the sight of the Senju brothers, but he could bare his fangs at the sight of the snake Orochimaru. "Enma, I need your help. Please hold them down," ordered Hiruzen. The ape nodded before jumping towards them and engaging them in a taijutsu fight. Hiruzen jumped in as well to help overpower his senseis, and of course it worked. Enma managed to land a solid punch at Tobirama before grabbing him and holding him down. Hiruzen saw this and he saw him trying to teleport somewhere else, but just before he could, the Sandaime Hokage used Shunshin, body flicker technique, to appear just in front of him and place the tag on his chest. Tobirama's eyes widened in shock as he felt his soul leaving his body. He smiled over at Hiruzen, finally at peace, and sighed in relief. "You have done a great job, Hiruzen. I will give your regards to your successor in the Shinigami's stomach," he said before his revived body disappeared and his soul went to the realm of the Shinigami. How was he going to the Shinigami's belly? Well, it was another Uzumaki Fuinjutsu marvel which Jiraiya had thanks to Kushina. The seal send the soul of an Edo Tensei body to the Shinigami's belly. Its only drawback is that it requires a seal master of level 10 minimum to make the seal. Even then, it took time to make the seal. Hiruzen and Enma then walked over to corner Orochimaru with Jiraiya, who had released Hashirama. the snake Sanin cursed his luck now that the Hokages were gone. He was severely overpowered by his opponents. He chuckled, however, in the face of these three. Kukuku, it appears I misjudged this fight. I was certain I'd come out victorious, but it goes otherwise. Unfortunately, as much as I loved this reunion, I must leave, he said before releasing the barrier holding them down. But before he tried to leave, the trio of Enma, Hiruzen and Jiraiya all tried to attack the spot Orochimaru stood on. Their attacks did not connect, but Jiraiya managed to insert a poison made by Tsunade into his system to make his arms useless. He simply vanished but was screaming from the pain of the poison activating. The three cursed their luck. They finally had their chance to dispose of one of Konoha's biggest threats right then and there, but it was no use. Of course, Orochimaru had an escape plan. He was probably in Raichi Cave with the snakes. Hiruzen sighed before glancing at the destruction being brought up onto the village. Jiraiya, Enma, we need to protect Konoha from Suna and Oto. Now that Orochimaru is gone, we must not dwell on him any further. We must focus on the other threats before us, he said before hearing a massive roar and thud on the outskirts of the village. Hiruzen and Jiraiya all examined the direction from which the sound came from, and they all gasped in shock as they found a legendary fight in the distance. From what they could see, Gamabunta was there and the other was a massive tanuki made of sand. The three realized what was going on and Hiruzen clenched his fist in anger. Is this what you wanted, Orochimaru? He asked. No one in particular. Jiraiya, head over there, I'll handle the Suna and Oto troops with Enma. Jiraiya nodded before jumping off into the distance. He knew exactly who was fighting in that battle. There was only one other person who could summon toads other than him, and it was his own student. With Naruto. Naruto and Gamabunta were left bruised and severely exhausted from their battle with the Aikibi. They didn't expect this to be an easy fight, but it was much more difficult than they thought. During their fight, they managed to push back the Biju as far away from Konoha as they could. In that distance, it allowed Sakura to help free Sasuke while the two were outside the reach of the battle. But from the battle, despite how much they damaged and attacked the body of the Aikibi, it just continued to reform and heal, seeing how it was purely made of chakra and sand. Upon seeing his struggling enemies, the Aikibi took advantage of his opponent's tired states. Sabaku Sotaiso Fuan, Desert Layered Imperial Funeral Seal. Gamabunta luckily jumped away from the seal. Gamabunta, I need you to fight the Tanuki and get me as close as you can to Gaara's body on the forehead of the Aikibi. We know how to defeat them, he said as Gamabunta nodded in understanding. Leave it to me, kid, he said as he lunged over to the Tanuki to fight him up close. As the distance between them was lowered significantly, Naruto quickly jumped up into the Tanuki's head. The Aikibi tried to counter this, but he needed both his arms to protect himself from Gamabunta's incoming attacks, and so he couldn't swat Naruto away. Naruto then leaned closer, but then a smaller replica of Biju's hand emerged from his stomach, catching the blonde boy. The Suna no Kaiwan managed to reach Naruto just in time, and the blonde cursed his luck, but just before the hand threw him away as far as it could, Naruto summoned a few of his shadow clones. The clones then carried and threw Naruto as close as they could to Gaara with their Bunshin Taiatari, clone body blow. Naruto managed to land a solid punch on Gaara, thus waking him up from his slumber. Unfortunately for Naruto, he was thrown over to some trees, breaking them from the sheer force of impact. He coughed out blood and he winced at the pain of some of his broken bones. He knew immediately that he must have broken an arm and a few ribs, and he must have at least fractured a leg among other things. No, fuck no, it can't be over so soon, yelled the Tanuki as Gaara began to take over for the Biju. The auburn-haired Jinchuriki woke up from his slumber in annoyance. He expected the battle to be over already, but at the sight of Gamabunta in front of him, he had no choice but to carry on where he last left off and where his Biju last left off. Damn it, why can't you all die already? Gaara yelled in anger as he began to summon his strength, overpowering Gamabunta. The Toad Chief was injured severely by now and he was on his last leg, losing the small battle of strength against Gaara in the Aikibi form. Naruto from afar saw this and he gingerly stood up from his position. He was down to the last few bits of his chakra and it was now or never. This would be the final attack he would do. He was glad he managed to land a punch to Gaara because with the Aikibi out of the way, it left a confused Gaara very open to an attack. He then breathed deeply before channeling his chakra into his legs, jumping high into the sky. Gamabunta saw Naruto jump up from the ground. He grabbed his sword and held it high enough for Naruto to use it as another platform for yet another chakra-enhanced jump. Naruto now inching closer and closer to the auburn-haired Jinchuriki. He punched Gaara with a great force on his head and it seemed to do the trick. Gaara then roared in utter pain and the sand surrounding him began to vanish quickly, and the two fell to the ground unceremoniously with a loud thud, further increasing their injuries. The two began to cough out blood and they winced in utter pain. "I lost," Gaara muttered to himself in disbelief before turning his head over to Naruto. "I lost, now kill me. End my pain and misery, kill me," he pleaded to Naruto. Naruto turned to him in surprise and sympathy. Had things been differently, this would have been him, but he was lucky that he had a few friends that strayed him from that dark road. He looked on at Gaara sadly. He knew how difficult it was to be lonely, to be looked upon as a monster, being treated like a demon even when he was just the container. "I know that feeling. As a fellow Jinchuriki, trust me when I say that there have been times where I too just wanted to die. But I will not kill you. Why won't you kill me? I am begging you to end my suffering. Aren't you mad at me? I almost killed your two teammates. If given the chance, I would destroy your village and kill you in the process." Naruto chuckled softly. "I won't, because I can sympathize with you. If things had gone differently between us, I could be in the same situation as you, with you being in the same situation as I am right now. I understand your struggle, and even with what's happening, I forgive you. You're a product of the hatred in the world and I want to help free you from this burden. From this day forth, Gaara, we'll be friends," he said with an idealistic gleam in his eyes. "Friends?" muttered the Aikibi Jinchuriki. This was such a foreign term to him. Naruto nodded as he continued to stare up into the sky. "Yes, we're friends now, and the next time we fight it shall be as cages," he said proudly. Gaara turned to him in disbelief. "Are you a fool? Me as cage, you're spouting nonsense," he seethed. "Could be nonsense, but then again nothing is impossible. Maybe you can prove yourself to the village and rise up from the title they give us as Jinchuriki and protect the village as a cage instead." Gaara turned to Naruto as he studied the grinning blonde. "You're a strange one, Uzumaki Naruto," he claimed softly. Naruto chuckled before turning to face Gaara. "You may be a crazy, lunatic bastard, but I guess you may not be too bad a friend," he said. Gaara then, for the first time in a long time, showed an expression. The corners of his mouth twitched into a small smile. "Friends, what an odd feeling," he muttered before sleep soon caught up to the two. Soon Kankuro and Temari arrived hobbling. They gathered their brother and left for Konoha, leaving Naruto to lay on the ground, but luckily for him Sakura soon arrived with Sasuke in tow and Jiraiya managed to arrive not much longer. Gamabunta explained the situation and what happened to them, and both Sakura and Jiraiya couldn't believe what had just happened. Jiraiya carried Naruto and he summoned a toad to help carry Sasuke. Jiraiya glanced at his student with pride. To defeat the Aikibi in such a way, maybe, just maybe, Naruto really can surpass his father. If anyone could, he would be able to. Sakura also turned to look at the unconscious Naruto being carried on the Sanin's back. The boy continued to surprise her, and this was the biggest surprise of all. She must have truly misjudged Naruto. Things had been iffy with them as of late, but then again, when it mattered, he was there to protect her from anything, and only then did she come to fully realize the recklessness of Naruto's chivalry. He had just fought a Biju not only to protect Konoha but to protect her. He truly went the extra mile to make sure she was safe. Hell, he fought Orochimaru as well just to protect her. Maybe Naruto wasn't as bad as she thought. Maybe he really might just be the Hokage one day. One thing was for sure, he really turned Sakura into a believer today.